Stuart, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing
Good.
great. We've come to visit you a little bit so that you could give us some advice in regards to how we're able to evolve in a career the same way you have, how we're able to get that quality of life that many of us are trying to seek, as well as establish a legacy such as yours. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a fourth generation El Pasoan. My great grandfather arrived here about 1860.
Wow.
There were about 10,000 people in El Paso when he first arrived here. Came from Hungary,
Wow.
and he was 16 years old by himself.
How did he end up here?
We don't know. We don't know how he ended up here. Might have been he just ran out of money and got kicked off the train. We don't know.
And this is when the Paso was by San Elia, I imagine?
El Paso was he had a home on Mesa Street for a while,
Wow.
and then moved on to a house on Rim Road. Or my grandparents had the house on Rim Road. So we've been here a long time.
Yeah, it's definitely ingrained in our culture, in our city. Tell us about how it is that people are able to excel with it. El Pasoans have a drive to do that entrepreneur spirit is starting to really be revived in town.
Right.
But I have noticed that a lot of them are afraid of letting go of some security or afraid of just kind of launching themselves. Tell me how you were able to keep your drive to succeed in your career.
Well, El Paso is such an open and friendly city. We all know that, okay? We love the bicultural nature of it, tricultural in some instances. And it's just a great place to live, raise a family, earn a living, and participate in community activities. And so for me, that's been really critical, is being involved in the community.
And this is something that you were recently recognized for. You received an award?
We did. From Project Amistad, my wife and I received a Humanitarian of the Year award.
Tell us what it's like to get that recognition.
Well, we were a little bit embarrassed, frankly,
Really?
because I'm not sure that we do a lot more in the community than a lot of people do in the community. But it is so important to be involved and participate in civic and charitable efforts, and almost every charity in town is yearning for more people to get involved, to more people to become active in their organizations. So I would encourage anybody out there to inquire and get involved.
Right, especially in these recent times, now more than ever, with all this influx of immigrants coming to town, our charities have taken a big hit.
Right.
Is there something that El Pasoans could do to perhaps help the food bank? How do they go about doing so?
Well, I'm, as you know, chairman of the capital campaign of El Pasoans Fighting Hunger, which is our local food bank. There are only 100 food banks in the United States, and El Pasoans Fighting Hunger is one of them. And so we're always looking for people to get involved in the capital campaign, and of course, and to volunteer or to donate food. There are so many ways that you can help those folks that are food insecure in our community become more secure.
Did you say 100 across the nation?
100 food banks. There are food pantries that take food from the food banks and actually distribute the food to the community. But the food bank is just one of 100.
It blows my mind because that seems. I'm under the perception that our society as a whole has been leaning more and more towards this big government type of field precisely because the social structure has deteriorated. It's incredible to hear that there's only 100 for the whole nation.
Well, and they span the entire country. They're all sponsored and created by Feeding America, which is sort of like the parent organization. And you've got to get accreditation through Feeding America to become an accredited food bank. So we went through that process about 3 years ago, and we're successful in achieving that level of accomplishment, and we're off and running.
That's really remarkable and admirable. When it comes to El Pasoans that are trying to establish themselves as a role model, as that beacon of light, and the character in their daily decisions, I know I have known of you being upright and having a good reputation for as long as I've been involved in media. Tell us how it is that you're able to maintain this. I mean, this has to be something that is ingrained in you.
Well, it's I, I think anybody can achieve it. Again, I don't know if I've got any license to do this on my own. I think anybody can achieve that. Anybody can achieve success if they put their minds to it. Anybody can achieve recognition if they devote themselves to it. If they are ethical, if they are committed to what they're accomplishing, to their either their profession or their goals or their desires, they will be just as successful. Getting involved in a community organization and not just being a member of that organization, but actually taking a leadership role in that organization is so critical. Get your name out there. Let people understand that that you have something to add to the community, that you can accomplish something, and the stature will come from that.
And when it comes to being in a community where everybody has a mix of culture, do you feel that this is why El Pasoans are a little more friendly than the majority of towns? And is this something that helps when you're in your career projection?
Oh, it definitely does. It definitely does. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. El Paso not only has deep family ties to me, but even more recently with what El Paso has to offer and what's going on downtown and things that are happening around town. There's just so much going on in El Paso. It's so vibrant and exciting to be living here at this particular point in time in its history. I just love it.
Yeah, and we are at that verge where we're about to become that big city. So what advice do you have for El Pasoans who want that big city, but none of us really want to be that old atmosphere that big cities are associated to? Uh, how do we maintain that friendliness and still become a major metropolitan area?
I don't know. I've got a litmus test for that. Really, I'm not sure I know how to answer that, other than to say that if we remain friendly, if we remain true to ourselves, we can be unique in that sense and accomplish so much.
What about in regards to how people do business with each other here? Yeah, sometimes it seems that the bigger the city gets, the more cutthroat it gets. And instead of being able to continue to help each other out, that dynamic changes. Do you feel that this just has to be a core to our city, to where people are encouraging each other and helping each other grow in that manner?
Yeah, I think it's a challenge. That it becomes much more competitive. Uh, in many ways, that's very good and very strong for a city to have a competitive atmosphere, competitive nature to it. In many ways, it's not. So, yes, I think competition helps. If there are companies that are interested in coming to El Paso, moving to El Paso, that may be competitive with other businesses, it, that's probably good for the community. It adds competition, it adds jobs, all that's good. But the friendliness has to be first and foremost. Everybody has to remember that you only get somewhere by being approachable and willing to work with somebody else.
Where would you like to see our city in the next 10 years?
Well, I think we're moving in the right direction. We've got so many good things going on. We've got the Chihuahuas, and we've got the soccer now, and playing in Southwest Park. I think there are things that are happening. What's happening downtown with Paul Foster and others, creating a real atmosphere. And we were downtown a few weeks ago on a weekend at like 11 o'clock at night and getting a drink at the Staten House Bar, and it was amazing how many people were just milling about. So things are very different than they were even 5 years ago. And I think we're going to continue. El Paso will continue to grow in that way.
Excellent. So before we let you go, would there be any last advice or any words that you would like to get across to our audience?
Well, the saying on my Twitter feed is, it's not about doing well, it's about doing good. And I think that's so important. If people remember that and will follow that, I think they will accomplish much in their life.
Stuart, thank you for your time, and I hope that we're able to come back and speak with you again in the future.
Be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.